January 1922 in New Jersey. Molly Maggia was at the dentist because she was experiencing some bad toothaches. She was an energetic girl in her mid-20s, and she loved her job painting glow-in-the-dark numbers on watch faces so they could easily be seen at night. The dentist told Molly he needed to remove her tooth because it had become infected. It was a simple procedure, and he expected Molly's toothache to go away in no time. Except it didn't. She returned a few weeks later to get another tooth removed, and then another, and then another. By May, the dentist believed he may have to remove an abscess from Molly's jaw, the cause of her constantly infected teeth, he thought. But when he began operating on her, something shocked him. Molly's jawbone wasn't white like he expected. It was an ashy grey colour. When he gently prodded at it with his finger, the jaw just broke away. By the summer of 1922, Molly Maggia had the entire left half of her jaw removed. By September, only 8 months after her first toothache, she was dead. Molly Maggia wasn't the only girl with these mysterious symptoms. Other girls throughout New Jersey were suffering from similar symptoms, watching their bodies slowly fall apart. One girl had her spine break away, while another had her hip shatter under only her own body weight. These girls were all linked by one common thing: the job they had, painting glow-in-the-dark numbers on watch faces. They would soon become known as the Radium Girls. For years, in the early 20th century, radium was advertised as not only harmless, but beneficial in low doses. People would drink tonic water infused with small amounts of radium as a health drink. Radium-infused toothpaste was used as a teeth whitening product, while skin creams infused with radium were popular, as they made the skin glow.
This same kind of dirt was made just radioactive enough to register on a Geiger counter. Leading cleansing creams, complexion soaps, and Dorothy Gray Salon Cold Cream were used to remove this dirt.
The United States Radium Corporation in New Jersey used one of these radium-infused products to paint the numbers on watches, making them glow in the dark and therefore easier to see at night. They hired mainly girls, many of whom were as young as 14 years old. The girls, almost 300 of them by 1920, were given no form of protection. In fact, they were taught to mix the paint by hand, putting radium powder, water, and adhesives together until they got the perfect mix. As the watch faces they were painting were very small, they were also taught to suck the end of the paintbrush so that the bristles would stick together and make a fine point. One of those girls making watches was Grace Fryer. A confident young girl, she worked at the same factory as Molly Maggia, the girl we mentioned at the beginning. One day, while she was busy at work painting the tiny numbers, she says she noticed a man looking at her. He had seen her put a paintbrush in her mouth, as she always does, to make the paintbrush tip finer. He comes up to her and says, "Do not do that, you will get sick." That man was Dr. von Sokoki, the founder of the United States Radium Corporation and the inventor of radium paint. He had studied under Marie and Pierre Curie, the Nobel Prize-winning couple who he discovered radium with. Dr. von Sokoki knew radium was dangerous. He even had part of his finger cut off when a small amount of radium fell on it to stop the damage from spreading. Grace Fryer asked her floor manager if what Dr. von Sokoki said was true, that the radium would make her sick, and he tells her he doubts it. She believed him. After all, people were drinking it in their water to become healthier. A lot of the girls end up leaving the United States Radium Corporation in the years after World War I ended. Some find work elsewhere, others get married and have kids, but slowly a lot of these girls become sick. Some, like Molly Maggia, the girl we spoke about at the beginning, end up dead, barely in their mid-20s. Grace Fryer begins to develop aches of her own, and she starts walking with a bad limp. More and more girls, who all worked with radium painting watch faces, began to get sick, and their doctors couldn't explain why. The girls, some who were still friends, talked amongst each other, and soon they found out that they were all suffering from mysterious aches and sicknesses. Word spreads all the way back to the United States Radium Corporation, and soon nobody wants to take a job there. This of course hurts the company, and so they commissioned a group of well-reputed doctors to investigate. After a few weeks, the results came in. The cause of the mysterious illnesses was in fact radium. The United States Radium Corporation did their best to try and suppress this information, but it was too little too late. Word had gotten out, and the world began to reconsider products with radium in them. The United States Radium Corporation still refused to take blame for what they knew would become a PR nightmare. They said that there was still no concrete evidence and that the girls getting sick was merely a coincidence. And because it was 1925, there was still no way of detecting radiation in living people. That was until a breakthrough happened. When the New Jersey Chief Medical Examiner got word of the dangers of radium, he came up with a groundbreaking test that could measure the amount of radiation in a living person's lungs, and also in their bones. In 1925, he organized for the girls to come in and get examined. When it was Grace Fryer's turn to get tested, she was shocked when she found out who was testing her. It was Dr. von Sokoki, the founder of the United States Radium Corporation, and the very man who warned her a few years back. Don't do that, you will get sick. Years before any of the girls got sick, he knew. Meaning the company he founded knew too. They knew of the harmful effects of radium, yet they did nothing to prevent the girls from getting sick. No protective equipment and barely even a proper warning. And now there he was, helping the girls. After running and examining the tests, Grace's results came in. It was a huge moment, because for the first time, Grace and the girls finally had a definitive answer. They had radiation poisoning. They now knew what was causing their mysterious conditions, and the results meant one thing: they were going to die. Dr. von Sokoki also ran some tests on himself, because he too worked with radium. His results? Radiation levels much higher than anyone else. He was sick, and he knew he didn't have long to live. Despite this terrible news, the girls, led by Grace Fryer and now armed with solid proof, would take the United States Radium Corporation all the way to the Supreme Court, in the hope that they could hold the company accountable and spread awareness of the dangers of radium. As part of their defense, they even had Molly Maggia's body exhumed and examined, her bones still glowing years later. Her cause of death? Radiation poisoning from radium, just as they had thought. The Radium Girls, as they got to be known, ended up settling out of court. The 5 women would each receive $10,000 up front, equivalent to around $176,000 today. They also had to pay the girls $12 a week, which is around $225 in today's money. The company would also have to cover their medical expenses for the rest of their lives. For some of the girls, including Grace, this wouldn't be long. Only a few years later, in 1933, Grace Fryer passed away from radium sarcoma caused by industrial poisoning. Her last few years were riddled with health problems, and just like Molly Maggia, she would lose all her teeth and parts of her jaw. Also, just like Molly Maggia and the other Radium Girls, Grace's body still glows to this very day. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. It's completely free and it helps the channel out a ton.